Have you ever felt on the verge of success, only to stop yourself at the last moment? This invisible force, self-sabotage, isn't just lack of discipline, it's the unconscious mind pulling the strings. Carl Jung's teachings reveal how to break free from these hidden patterns and reclaim your full potential. Overcoming self-sabotage begins with understanding that our unconscious mind exerts a far greater influence over our behavior than we often realize. Carl Jung's work illuminates the hidden forces within us, particularly the shadow, the repressed aspects of our psyche that dictate our actions in ways we barely perceive. These unacknowledged fears, doubts, and beliefs form patterns that play out in self-sabotaging behaviors, preventing us from fully embracing our potential. Jung's perspective reveals that these patterns are not simply bad habits or personal failures, but manifestations of inner conflicts rooted deep in our unconscious. Self-sabotage often arises from a fundamental discord between our conscious desires and unconscious fears. Consciously, we may want success, love, or fulfillment, but unconsciously, we might fear what comes with them: responsibility, exposure, vulnerability, or even loss. The unconscious mind, driven by past experiences and conditioned beliefs, works to keep us safe by steering us away from perceived threats, even when those threats are actually opportunities for growth. This is why we procrastinate, avoid risks, or create obstacles for ourselves at the very moment we are about to break through. Jung emphasized that what we suppress gains power over us. The more we resist acknowledging our fears, insecurities, and traumas, the more they shape our reality from the shadows. He famously stated, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Recognizing this is the first step to breaking free. To transform our patterns of self-sabotage, we must bring our hidden fears into the light, examine them, and integrate them into our conscious awareness. The shadows built over a lifetime, beginning in childhood. Early experiences shape how we view ourselves in the world. If we were shamed for failure, we may develop a fear of trying. If success brought jealousy or resentment from others, we may unconsciously associate achievement with rejection. If love came with conditions, we might believe we must earn affection rather than receive it freely. These experiences form deep-rooted beliefs that influence how we approach opportunities, relationships, and personal growth. Patterns of self-sabotage are often cyclical, appearing in different areas of life but following the same underlying script. Perhaps someone repeatedly undermines their career by missing deadlines or avoiding promotion opportunities. Another may sabotage relationships by withdrawing the moment intimacy deepens. Someone else might struggle with health goals, oscillating between commitment and self-destructive behavior. The specifics vary, but the mechanism remains the same: an internal conflict between desire and fear. The key to breaking the cycle lies in self-awareness. Noticing when and how we self-sabotage requires careful attention. Often we rationalize these behaviors with surface-level excuses. "I work better under pressure. I'm not ready yet. This isn't the right time." But underneath these justifications are deeper fears. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of responsibility. To overcome self-sabotage, we must ask ourselves what we are truly avoiding. Journaling is a powerful tool for this self-exploration. Writing without censorship reveals unconscious patterns, allowing us to trace our behaviors back to their roots. Questions such as, "What do I gain from sabotaging myself?" or "What am I afraid will happen if I succeed?" can uncover surprising insights. The unconscious mind communicates in symbols, and patterns in our writing often reveal truths that the logical mind resists. Dreams also serve as a gateway to the unconscious. Jung believed dreams provide direct access to unresolved fears and hidden desires. Recurring themes, being trapped, falling, losing control, often symbolize real-life anxieties. Keeping a dream journal and reflecting on recurring motifs can reveal where self-sabotage originates. The unconscious speaks in metaphor, and deciphering its language allows us to understand and integrate its messages. Active imagination, a technique Jung advocated, involves engaging with our unconscious through visualization and dialogue. By imagining a conversation with the part of ourselves that resists progress, we can bring awareness to its motives. What does this self-protective voice say? What does it fear? What does it need to feel safe enough to allow growth? This practice helps bridge the gap between conscious intention and unconscious resistance. Beyond introspection, taking deliberate action is necessary to break self-sabotaging patterns. The unconscious mind learns through experience, not just analysis. If we fear failure, we must intentionally take small risks to prove to ourselves that failure is not catastrophic. If we fear success, we must allow ourselves to achieve small victories and observe that we can handle them. If we fear rejection, we must practice vulnerability in controlled ways, demonstrating to our unconscious that connection is possible despite the risk. Reframing failure is essential. Many forms of self-sabotage stem from a fear of failure so intense that avoidance feels safer than trying. Jung's concept of individuation, the process of integrating all aspects of the self, including the shadow, requires accepting failure as a necessary step in growth. Rather than viewing setbacks as proof of inadequacy, we must see them as feedback, information that helps us refine our path. The unconscious mind resists failure when it equates it with worthlessness, but when we redefine failure as learning, we weaken its power over us. The tension of opposites is another crucial Jungian principle. Often, we struggle between conflicting desires: security versus freedom, ambition versus contentment, connection versus independence. Jung taught that rather than choosing one side, we must hold the tension between both, allowing a higher resolution to emerge. Self-sabotage frequently arises from an inability to tolerate this tension. We avoid risk because we cannot hold both fear and desire at once. We must practice sitting with discomfort, neither acting impulsively nor retreating in fear, trusting that balance will naturally arise. Shifting identity is a deeper level of transformation. If we unconsciously see ourselves as unworthy, undeserving, or incapable, no amount of external success will override this belief. Lasting change requires altering self-perception at the identity level. This involves more than affirmations. It requires embodying a new identity through action. Someone who sees themselves as unworthy of love must practice self-compassion. Someone who views themselves as incapable must take small, tangible steps that reinforce competence. Identity is not fixed. Through consistent action, it can be reshaped. Breaking free from self-sabotage also requires self-compassion. Jung emphasized that integration, not repression, leads to wholeness. The parts of us that sabotage are not enemies. They are wounded aspects of ourselves, trying to protect us in misguided ways. Rather than fighting against these parts, we must meet them with understanding. This shifts the dynamic from inner conflict to inner cooperation. When we acknowledge our fears without judgment, they lose their grip. Compassion allows transformation where self-criticism only deepens the cycle. External influences shape internal narratives. Cultural conditioning, family expectations, and past experiences all contribute to the beliefs that drive self-sabotage. Questioning these inherited narratives is essential. Who told us we are not good enough? When did we decide that success is dangerous? What external voices have become internalized doubts? Recognizing that many limiting beliefs are learned, not inherent, empowers us to rewrite them. Building resilience against self-sabotage means developing emotional regulation skills. Many self-sabotaging behaviors stem from an inability to tolerate discomfort. If we fear rejection, we may avoid relationships rather than face the pain of vulnerability. If we fear failure, we may procrastinate rather than endure the stress of imperfection. Strengthening our ability to sit with discomfort through mindfulness, breathwork, or other grounding techniques reduces the impulse to escape into self-sabotage. Visualization is another tool to reprogram the unconscious. The mind does not distinguish strongly between real and imagined experiences. Regularly visualizing success, confidence, and resilience helps shift unconscious associations. When paired with action, visualization creates a powerful reinforcement loop, aligning the unconscious with conscious goals. Finally, integration is not a one-time event, but a lifelong process. The unconscious mind is vast, and layers of conditioning unfold over time. As we grow, new challenges arise, revealing deeper levels of self-sabotage to address. But each step forward strengthens the foundation of self-awareness, making future obstacles easier to navigate. The journey toward wholeness is not about eliminating struggle, but learning to move through it with awareness, resilience, and trust in our capacity for transformation. Until the shadow is recognized and integrated, it will continue to direct our lives. Self-sabotage is not an enemy to defeat, but a message to decode, a doorway to deeper self-understanding. The work of transformation is ongoing, requiring both courage and patience. The more we make the unconscious conscious, the more we reclaim our ability to act freely, rather than being driven by unseen forces. Breaking these patterns is not about becoming a different person, but about becoming the fullest version of who we already are.